Greetings and welcome to In Printing Color, sponsored by Polymaker. So we are going to be talking about something that you may not have printed with before, or of course you might be very familiar with. And that is ASA, aka acrylonitrile styrene acrylite, ASA. So of course, ASA is a filament that has a couple different requirements in order to print it successfully, but it is an amazing filament. ASA is a copolymer of SAN, which is styrene acrylonitrile and acrylic rubber. So that, of course, the combination of those two materials gives ASA a versatile material. The other thing about ASA is that it has excellent weather resistance. So we're going to take a look at ASA directly on the Polymaker website. We're going to talk about things that I have printed in ASA, and of course, what your ASA experience may or may not include. All right. So first of all, let's take a look at ASA on the Polymaker website. So Polymaker has two different collections of ASA. The first one has some extremely beautiful and vibrant colors. The next one has some delicious colors. So first of all, I am showcasing Pop Pink because this is a color that I am absolutely in love with. It is absolutely gorgeous. It excites me to no end. My favorite ASA colors for Polymaker are, of course, the Pop Blue, the Pop Pink, and the Pop Green. But of course, if you're printing with ASA and you want something a little more subtle, there are other colors. And of course, there's lots of other options to, of course, color your world. This is In Printing Color, so we talk about colors. So first of all, of course, we've got our jet black. Now this is jet black, which means it's a pretty dark black, which is pretty awesome. Next, we have just regular black. So as you can see, the jet black has a little bit more, I think there's a little more gloss and darkness to it. And then of course, there's the regular black. We've got white, which is white. We've got gray, which is a lovely gray. This blue is one of the dreamiest blues. Nice red with a little bit of an orange undertone, I would say. Really nice St. Patrick's Day green. Lovely orange there. A vibrant yellow. We've got purple. And of course, Polymaker purple never disappoints. Neither does Polymaker teal. There is a natural. There is an army green. There is an army brown. There is a dark gray. We love dark gray over here too. As I've shown you already, the Pop Blue, the Pop Pink, and the Pop Green. Dark purple, which is a personal favorite of mine, and any Polymaker does dark purple so well. There is a dark green gray, which I think is a really interesting color. And of course, there's all kinds of combinations of colors that you could do here for your projects. And of course, an olive brown. So you've got a really nice palette of colors to choose from. And then you get a chance to take a look at Galaxy ASA. Now this is some dreamy filaments. So we've got Galaxy Black. We've got Galaxy Blue. Again, a different blue than, of course, other galaxies. In the PLA, we have Galaxy Dark Blue. This is Galaxy Blue. Galaxy Red, which of course is quite similar to the Hedgehog Makes Galaxy Red, but not quite the same, but similar. Absolutely gorgeous in an ASA. And of course, Galaxy Green. So you may ask, why would I want to print with ASA? And how do I print with ASA? And that's what we're going to take a look at. So first thing, how to print with Polymaker ASA. Right away on the of course, material sheet here, it has a lot of information. And this is information, no matter what filament you're printing with, you should pick up and take a look at. So of course, The nozzle temperature for ASA does need to be hotter than PLA and other materials. So between 230 and 260. It says here, build surface treatment. So ASA is known, of course, to be a little bit sticky on your bed. And also you want to make sure you have good adhesion to your print bed. So an interface layer is really helpful. So it does say PC and textured PEI with glue when needed. Of course, you can use glue stick, you can use Magic Glue. Here, of course, we're big fans of nanopolymer adhesive, which is made for things like this because nanopolymer adhesive does not leave any residue on your prints. Your build plate temperature is going to be a lot hotter than usual, 75 to 95 degrees Celsius. Fans off. Your printing speed, regular printing speeds, 50 to 200 millimeters a second. You have your retraction distance of 1 to 3 millimeters, your retraction speed of 20 to 40. So you want to take your time, and of course make sure that you're printing it slow and hot. Now this is a thing that of course affects a lot of people who may want to print ASA, and that is that it is absolutely needed to have an enclosure. So whether you have a printer that has a door and things that can close to give it a fully controlled environment, or you're able to have an enclosure that goes over your printer, for ASA to be successfully printed, it does need an enclosure. The other thing that is not here, but that is important, is you do need good ventilation. So if you're printing with ASA, you want to make sure that you have an air purifier that monitors your air quality. You have a window cracked open. Some people have an entire system that filters the ASA out the window. Of course, all filaments have their fumes. ASA to some people can be very, can be a little bit noxious, and can affect their air quality. So definitely you want to have a filter. You want to have, an air filtration system. Now, another thing that's here, when needed, of course, this is another type of filament where you want to consider using a dryer for. So it does say here 70 degrees Celsius for 7 hours. So of course, all of this information here is based on a 0.4 nozzle. And of course, printing conditions may vary, but these are some guidelines for printing with ASA. All right. Now, of course, if you want even more information about Polymaker's ASA, there are, of course, full information sheets available on the website, and also on app.polymaker.com. So if you need to know about the tensile strength, the Sharpie impact strength, all of the melt index, the density, all of those sorts of things, that is available on app.polymaker.com. Right there. Now, also, of course, there is now wiki.polymaker.com. And one thing that's really interesting about the wiki is not only it gives you information about the filament and how to print with it and troubleshooting, but they have started adding some printer profiles for different filaments. So for Polymaker ASA, they have profiles for bamboo, for Prusa printers, for Ultimaker, and even for some others. So you've got some print profiles that can help you, which is really, really nice. All right. Now let's talk about ABS and ASA. Now we have covered ABS on past imprinting colors, but ABS and ASA, as it says here, they are inexpensive options for many applications. And of course, the advantage of using ABS and ASA are heat resistance and strength. Now, I had to do a little bit of research, and one of the things that I had to research was a term that kept on popping up, which is glass transition. So from my understanding, when the filament, of course, extrudes and is melted, the state of it going from filament into, of course, hotter filament, and printing into, of course, a 3D print. It does, of course, get stronger with the heat, and is then of course your ASA is ABS and ASA become stronger with that heat. So it's almost self-annealing, you could say. So I think it's a pretty cool process. If you want to do more research, you could do the research yourself. But what I know, of course, is that ABS and ASA are fantastic materials for strength and for heat. Now, why would I use, for example, ASA over ABS? The key for me is, of course, the weather resistance. So ABS is fantastic. A lot of people use ABS for 3D printer components, for electronics, for all sorts of things that involve needing to be in an enclosure, or of course to withstand heat and various temperatures. But the beauty of ASA is that it is also UV resistant. So if you are printing, for example, our friend James the Printer's wavy planter here, this printed in ASA is going to not fade as fast in the sun. And also, if you are someone that lives the outdoor life through the winter, some of your plants might go dormant. It does withstand the cold as well. So a planter is a great example of how you would use, of course, ASA. Another thing that you would do with ASA, of course, is print things like signs. So signs that are going to be outdoors. One of the things that shows up, of course, on the Polymaker website, and one of the first things that I think it was Chuck Hellebuck printed, was a flag for a mailbox. Of course, a mailbox flag is year-round. It needs to be strong and resist all sorts of weather, just like, the Postal Service, rain, snow, I don't know, sleet and whatever. I don't know what they say. All the things, sunshine and snow and rain and whatever you want to say. So something like that, it's a great application. Now, I have printed a few different things that I would use ASA for. And one of the reasons that I've chosen these things is, of course, this show is called In Printing Color, for the color alone. So I've shown this James the Printer planter, which is really lovely, but how about something like a PTFE guide for the inside of your bamboo printer? This is by our friend K2 Kevin. So this is something that has to, of course, your PTFE goes through here, and it adds an extra support inside your bamboo printer. And this is something that, of course, if you are printing with ABS or ASA, it definitely holds up over use and time. So something like this. And of course, why wouldn't you want it to be a vibrant pink? Another thing, of course, that you might use for 3D printing is parts for your stealth burner, right? Zombie Hedgehog had me print this just as an example of something that you would use ASA for. And of course, who doesn't want a hot pink printer components? So this is awesome. This is just an example. I know a couple of people saw me printing this and got really excited. This is just an example. So this is a beautiful example of how you would use ASA. You could use, of course, ABS as well, but why not use a beautiful color like this? Another thing that I printed was something that has a lot of use, and maybe you're knitting by the fire, right? It's entirely possible that you could be knitting by the fire. Do any of you knit by the fire? Is that something that you might do? I don't know. Is it something that you might do? But if you are someone who might be knitting by the fire, our friend Sharon in chat has a blooming rose yarn bowl. And I thought this was a perfect color And of course, a perfect example of how you could do a practical yet decorative print with ASA. So a lot of people, you know, listen, my best friend, she knits at a restaurant. She knits at restaurants. She knits on a skiing trip. She knits by the fire. She sets things down by the heater. She knits in the kitchen. So something like this is a perfect example of how you would use a beautiful, vibrant color like that pop pink for something practical. And of course, this will stand the test of time, no matter what you're doing with it, because of course it's strong and it can hold up to all different temperatures. So Barking Cauldron, who's in Twitch chat right now, but also Sharon P over on Maker World. This is her Blooming Rose yarn bowl. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, all the models are always linked below. Gorgeous. Of course, if you wanted to give some of these planters as a gift, you want to make sure that the gift is a whole package. So I also printed James the Printer's watering can. Now everyone says, oh, how do you make sure that something like a watering can is waterproof? You add extra walls. So of course, with something like a watering can, this is of course in pop blue, ASA. You want to make sure you have extra walls. Test it before you gift it. But of course, this is something that is strong and can withstand all sorts of weather. So we got our wavy watering can and a bunch of planters. Absolutely fantastic. Now, what's another use for something like ASA? Well, let's say you're going to the beach. You need a can koozie. So I've done also the Summer Wave can koozie by our friend James the Printer. There is a theme of James the Printer today, who's actually on vacation in Florida right now. I hope that he has one of these can koozies on the go. And of course, this can withstand cold and heat. So there you go. So we've talked a little bit about things that you could print with ASA. Another thing that, of course, is absolutely amazing printed in ASA is birdhouses and bird feeders. So this is one that I found on Maker World. I will certainly link the designer below. And what's really neat about this one is, of course, it can be mounted to your window. So you can feed the birds year round with this one. You can either have suction cups or, of course, affix it. But this one, of course, is a year round one. You could put suet in here, you could put bird seed in it, and of course have it on your window, access it, whether it's on your balcony or somewhere close. But something like a bird feeder. You can also print bird houses. As we've seen, we have a selection of color when it comes time to print with ASA. Whether you're using the Galaxy colors, or of course, you're using all of the other colors in the selection here, you have the selection of a bazillion colors compared to a lot of different companies when it comes to ASA. So if you have never printed with ASA before, you have a printer that has an enclosure, and of course, you're ready to take on a new adventure, I strongly suggest that you consider printing with Polymaker's ASA. You've got beautiful colors. I have had zero issues printing with all the different profiles that I used. It's just an absolute delight. So if you haven't printed with ASA, let me know your hesitation, and I can certainly let you know that as someone who normally does not print with these types of materials, I don't necessarily need 3D printer components, but I love printing both gifts and practical things. ASA is definitely something to consider. So let me know in the comments below what you would print in ASA. And of course, if you're someone who might like to try this filament, during my streams on Twitch, twitch.tv/pezliz, every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, we do giveaways for Polymaker filament. So of course, with Polymaker filament, you are able to explore any of the filaments and any of the products that Polymaker offers, and choose your own adventure. Speaking of choosing your own adventure, I will say when you are finished using your ASA and it is time to put it away, if you don't go through the entire spool, you definitely want to save these bags. So you can put your filament back into these foil bags. Not only do they, of course, protect them from elements, but of course it can keep them dry. But another thing that can keep your filament dry is the PolyDryer. So I am a huge fan of Polymaker's PolyDryer. It is an amazingly easy to use system. And not only can you have just this PolyDryer, you have the PolyDryer, which of course includes a drying dock and a PolyDryer box. You can also purchase the PolyDryer boxes separately. There are packages on the Polymaker website. There are nice package deals with the PolyDryer, but I'm going to show you what the PolyDryer box entails and how easy it is to get everything set up. So here's your PolyDryer instructions. You got a nice big thick PTFE here, and inside the box you have your PolyDryer box, and inside that is another box, a box and a box and a box. So we're gonna get this open here and share with you. So what's in the box, you ask? Some more boxes. So let's open this up and take a look here. So we have the PolyDryer box, which with the new design opens fairly easily. It is a nice tight fit. I'll also let you know our friend Zombie Hedgehog, aka Hedgehog Makes, was on the development team for the PolyDryer. So, and one of his contributions is pretty awesome, and I'll show you in a minute. So we've got this box here. And inside the box, like I said, there are more boxes. So what's inside the box, the bag of boxes? Let's take a look. Find a safe place to open it. There we go. First off, we have no snack pack, the power supply. So we've got the power supply here. There are, of course, converters. No matter where you live in the world, you're able to use the PolyDryer, depending on your region. And another box inside the box is something magical. And that is a word that I had to relearn, the hygrometer. So I always say hydrometer. Apparently that's not even a word, but you know, that's a thing. And also in with this hygrometer is the spool holder. So you can actually print directly from the PolyDryer dry box. This spool holder fits neatly inside, and I'm just gonna grab a spool of Polymaker filament here to give you an example. So this is actually a Panchroma Galaxy Dark Red, aka Intergalactic Chocolate. So you want to put the spool inside, the spool holder inside, and then you slide it into the box and guide it along the rails. So let's guide the spool holder along the rails. There we go. So then it can spin freely. When you have the end of your filament, it actually feeds out of here, and you can use the handy dandy PTFE to guide your filament directly into your printer. All right. So, but let's take a look at this hygrometer and what's involved with that. Also, when you want to put this on the PolyDryer itself, I'll do an example. We're going to take a look at the hygrometer though, because I have another part here that I have printed in Polymaker's ASA. So this is actually a funnel to feed your desiccant beads into the hygrometer, designed by our friend Edge of 3D, aka Scott. So When you have your hygrometer ready to set up, you pull the little battery tab here. Easily, very easily, with the magic of course, streaming live. All right, here we go. And the hygrometer is going to, of course, tell you what the humidity is in the air pretty much right away. You take the lid off the hygrometer. And this is where you say, Liz, get your overhead camera set up. Soon, TM. You take the lid off the hygrometer. Easily. Pop this off. And then it's time to fill the hygrometer with the desiccant. Now, if you've seen past episodes of anyone's life, these desiccant beads can run away very easily. I had a lot on my floor at one point. So, Scott's very easy to use funnel is fantastic. So, you've got this bag of desiccant, and what you want to do is rip the corner or cut the corner off carefully. And this is available on Maker World. I will link it, of course, in the description below. And if anyone in chat knows where it is, they can do that. So then you pour your desiccant. They're very bouncy little guys. You pour your desiccant through the funnel and shuffle it around a little bit. Shuffle it around a little bit. And shoosh shoosh. Bob's your uncle. When you lift the funnel up, you've got a nicely filled hygrometer. If you're watching live in chat, our friend K2 Kevin is probably able to link that, but I will link it in a moment. So then you carefully snap your lid back on the hygrometer and you're good to go. And I'll share with you where you put the hygrometer. You do need to pay attention to what you're doing here when you're snapping that lid back on. So give me a moment here. There we go. Snappy, snap, snap, and a snap, snap, snap. There we go. Snapped on, clipped in. We're almost golden. Oh, there we go. Almost golden here. There we go. Be careful. Be careful when you're doing this, right? There we go, kids. Be careful. I'm being very careful not to lose any desiccant and to get this in place. This is where we say shoosh shoosh. There we go. Hygrometer affixed. One more snap. Thank you, K2 Kevin, for sharing that live in Twitch chat. And here we go. This is, there we go. A nice little labor, but now we are installed. Now, where does this go? Where does this go? There's a nice little slot here in the PolyDryer. Of course, if you can read the instructions, it will also tell you where it goes. But let us slide this in place. So not only do you have a dryer that's functioning, you can also see what percent of humidity you have going on in your dryer. And I'm also going to get this set up to show you how you would print directly from the dryer. All right. So there you go. Right. I'm going to put the spool back into the box. Now, normally with something like Galaxy Dark Red PLA, I don't need the PolyDryer. But we're doing this for an example. If you live in a really humid environment, though, you may need to dry your PLA or keep your PLA stored. So, here we go. Let's say you want to print directly from the PolyDryer. You simply take your filament and you feed it out of the box. You securely put the lid on and If you need, of course, the PTFE, you can put the PTFE in to further feed your filament, but there you go. Now let's say it's time to dry the filament. You want to tuck your filament back in, seal this little plug up, and get your dryer going. So this part is very easy peasy and simple. This is the dock. So we're going to pretend that the dock is plugged in, but if you take a look here at the dock, it does have, of course, different materials and what level and what drying time you would use. So what you want to do here is you take off your little PolyDryer box feet. Make sure you put them in a safe place. There are prints that allow you to mount them on top of your PolyDryer, which are really nice. And then you take your PolyDryer and you set it on, we'll do it this way. You set it atop. If this is plugged in, you're able to set the different drying settings, and you'll see this hygrometer go from 49% to, you know, like 15, 20% in a matter of time. So it's pretty awesome. So the PolyDryer is absolutely fantastic. Now, if you're finished with this and you want to store your filament, you just put the little feet back on. The PolyDryer boxes do fit on a rep rack. They do fit on most of course, filament storage solutions. And you can purchase these PolyDryer boxes in bulk to store your filament. There's often really good deals on the Polymaker website. And when it comes time to, of course, recharge your desiccant, there are all different methods to do that. A lot of people will put it in a food, like a heat safe dish and put it in the microwave or toaster oven. You can also recharge. You can use your own desiccant. Of course, use all the different guidelines that are available for that. But it's definitely a really great system. So, of course, if you're printing with ASA and you've got a humid environment, that's definitely something to take a look at using the PolyDryer. PolyDryer is very affordable, and like I said, there are often great deals on the PolyDryer. We can take a look at the Polymaker website right now, and I can show you. All right. Yes, there is a PolyDryer storage bundle. So let me take a look here. Now, last week there was an amazing sale, but there still is a really good deal here. You do save at least $30 by buying the storage bundle. And of course, that includes the drying dock and 4 storage boxes. So you can purchase that in bulk and of course, have a great deal of savings. And you can also purchase the storage boxes individually, or of course, if you want to have more dryers, there's all kinds of options for you. So definitely something to consider when you're printing with all different materials. So there you go. A little bonus there, kind of fun. It just arrived today, so I thought I would share it with you. But I want to thank everyone for joining me for today's Imprinting Color. Of course, if you have any more questions about printing with ASA, ABS, and other materials, I'm live on Twitch for Imprinting Color every single Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Also, we do have some programming with Polymaker's Twitch channel, which is Polymaker_3D on Twitch. On Thursdays especially, our friend Sean has his feedback hour, and he is actually one of the people that's developing the Polymaker wiki and other resources. So he is an excellent resource when it comes to learning how to print, adding those profiles and all of that as well. But again, thank you for joining me for Imprinting Color, sponsored by Polymaker. I hope you've learned something or got excited about some new colors of filament today. And until next time, happy printing.